And we are live. Hello. Hi, Amir. How are you?
Hi, Armin. I'm good considering the situation.
Consider. Yeah, considering. Yeah, so not so good. Thank you for coming here. Thank you so much for the time. I think we haven't spent as much time as we should. We have been covering the Israel situation on Atheist Republic a couple of times and the things that are happening there. But I think a lot of people don't understand how dire the situation is, and the atheist community as a whole, the global atheist community, and the secular community, and the liberal world, and the feminist world, all of these people need to be paying a lot more attention to what's happening in Israel. And I don't think that they have been. I think that a lot of people are just dismissing this and not paying that much attention to it. So at least I want us at Atheist Republic to make sure that we do our job, and this threat to democracy, this threat to secularism, and this threat to liberalism and women's rights and um, separations of power and government, everything that makes a government run perfectly in better, in a liberal world, all of these things that are being threatened right now, I think we need to, as liberals and as atheists and as secularists and as LGBT activists and as women rights activists, like, since all of these are being under attack at the same time, it's ridiculous for us not to be paying attention to it. I didn't know. I don't know that many people that could come explain this to me, so I really appreciate. I mean, all I know is what I'm hearing in the news, so I really do appreciate you coming in here and telling us what's happening. So, with that being said, what is happening?
Well, what we are under now, we're having a very quick and terrible legislation that is going on in the parliament by a new government that was elected in November 1st. The concept of them is to actually dismantle the Supreme Court, to disable all its power, to make it insignificant, maybe even obsolete in a matter of ability to exercise some leverage on the government. What practically is going to come is that the Israeli government will become something like a dictatorship. And I'm using this very harsh word because it's very sad for me to say that, but this is the fact. The government will have full control of everything that is going on without any check and balances,
Hmm.
without any way for anyone to appeal, to ask for a court help. Everything is under extreme danger.
So
Uh,
you're saying the government in Israel is becoming a dictatorship. So, by the way, for people who don't know, you are yourself an Israeli. You are in Israel right now, and you are a political activist. Is that fair to say? I just want to see people what side you're coming from and what is your background, so that people understand why you would have the knowledge for them to be listening to you. Do you mind explaining that to us
okay,
first as well?
so I'll tell you about myself. I'm an activist. I'm Most of the time I look myself as a liberal, maybe with some tendencies toward the left side of the map, but not on the extreme sense. Still, during my past years, I was and still are in charge of the atheist organization in Israel. In that position, I was very happy to invite Armin to be with us in 2019. Really looking forward to do it again. And this was my most work on the regular day. I work in the high tech industry. As of now, I'm trying to start a new startup for the past 2 years. Doing okay, not great, but we're trying to do something very interesting. But it's not of our concern, except that
Okay.
since I'm in the high tech industry, months we started feeling that the high tech industry is under siege. We decided to create an organization that his main agenda is to fight what is going on in Israel, to fight the government, to raise up all people that are working in the high-tech industries that feeling the same like us. And that's what I'm doing for the past 2 months, maybe a bit less. We were able to gather hundreds, if not more, of high-tech employees. And we were also joined by another group that was created at the same time, that is a kind of organization that is gathering all the CEOs and VCs in Israel to create, again, an opposition to the government. So as of now, we are working together, these two organizations. We all feel that all of our industry is just going to be destroyed economically.
Okay.
We're talking
So
about
you
employment,
so you
etc.
mentioned that Israel is becoming a dictatorship. Okay, how
Right.
exactly Israel is turning into a dictatorship? Why would this? How is that happening?
Let me start to explain what happened in the past 2 years. Let's talk about history for a second, if that's okay with you.
Mhm.
What we happened since 2019, I believe, a bit, or 2020, I got lost a bit. We started having this very rapid elections. We had 5 elections in the past 2 years. 5 elections, which is very dangerous by itself for any democracy. An Israeli government consists of a coalition government. That means you need 50% of parliament members, which is 61 members, that to create a government. This was not able to be established, or was established for a very short term. So we found ourselves going back and forth into those elections. Uh, all of those elections said one thing that is important. The Netanyahu's, the right-wing government, was not able to create a stable coalition. Even so, they were able to make a government in one of those elections. It didn't last for more than a year. Why? Because they kind of betrayed their partners and signed papers that they not were willing to actually accept and do it.
Can we do a
So
little bit more of a?
this is a bit yes.
Mhm. No, I just want to do a little bit fast track to of the history because I want to make sure we get some of the key points about today as well.
uh that's what I'm trying. Is
Okay,
that
okay.
okay? If you want me to get
Yeah.
into something in more details, I will explain it.
No, no,
Okay,
no. It's good.
so what?
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
That's a good. Okay, let's talk about what happened about 2 years ago, a bit less. We were able to, in the fourth election, we were able to create a coalition government that consisted of all the centers right and centers left parties, including the Arabs. And we had a coalition of about 64, I believe, something like that, supporters for the government. And we had about a year and a half of a very stable government with very good deeds for the country. At that time, at the same time, the right wing started to bribe uh, parliament members that were part of the coalition. They were bribing one specific minister that she was a member of one of the parties in the coalition. And at the end, they were able to get a majority of more than 61 members, as I said, and to topple the government. And then we went to this fifth election. Now let's talk about the fifth election, which this is the worst problem. What happened when we got to the fifth election in November 1st, the right wing side of the map was able to create pre-election coalitions with all the extreme right in Israel. What are the extreme rights? The extreme rights are people that are very religious, very extreme religious, people that believe that the Messiah will come and we should, some of them think that we should kick out all the Arabs from Israel, Palestinians. Those right wings talk about going back to the American conservative, extreme conservatives idea, like to disallow gay marriages, to disallow gay in public, to disallow LGBT parades, and whatever we had in liberal Israel up to date. And all those parties were joined together. At least one of them was convicted in the past for performing terrorist activities against Palestinians. One of them is in a party, a single member. It's important to understand it. Is a member of a party that what we've just found out a few weeks ago, that they had a list of all LGBT members in the entertainment industries, in the political arena. You know, lists like I think McCarthy in the US wasn't ashamed of having such list. It's really the idea is to go after them. That's what we see. So once they gathered together into parties, they were not losing a vote because of separation of parties that's joining together. They came out to the election very strong. Very strong. They didn't lose any vote. They had an agreement with the ultra-Orthodox Jews. I mean, that's the guys with the black hats and with the black clothing that you know, that they only care about money. They don't have any ideology. They don't care about what's going on to Israel. They just want to get money because their people are not working. They study all day long. They don't serve the army. They don't have any obligation to the country, but they know how to get the money from. So they joined together. On the left, we weren't able to join forces. We found some of the parties fought between themselves. The Arabs splitted into two parties instead of having a single party and they lost many votes because of that. Also, the two most leftist parties also didn't join together. Also, we lost about something like 4 mandates, four party members. And that way we just gave, because of this failure to join together, we gave the right wing the control. They got 64 members out of 120 parliament members. And this is how the coalition is formed.
I don't know how correct this is. I also heard that this is to be blamed also on Arab Israelis who came in, rioted, and in the streets of Israel. I think it was how many years ago? It was 2 years ago, I think, right?
Yes.
And that security issue raised the alarm so much among Jewish Israelis, so much so that they panicked and wanted to vote in a right-leaning government as a way to send a message that they would not tolerate this from Arab Israelis. Is
The
that
right
correct?
wing were, that's right, the right wing slogans were we're going to change the rules, we're going to allow extreme measures against the Arabs, things that are selling for the common people. Maybe not the people that think, but the common people that don't think much, sorry for being that extreme. You talk them by force. It's very simple to convince. You can see it in every democracy in the world.
It's
That
the
it's
traditional. It's basically the same old giving up rights for the sake of security that plays out over and over again. The rights that were fought for and were achieved by so much sacrifice and so much cost and so much effort and so much activism and so much blood. When people feel afraid, they are ready to give away all the rights that they managed to get in order to get some security. Is that the trade that the Israeli people have done to give away their rights so that they could get more security?
Yep, that's what happened
Yes.
somehow.
Hmm.
But it's a this is only one of the causes. It's not the only one. Uh, but yes, it made a big say sorry for losing a word. It made a lot of impact among youngsters, young people that this did that, and that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
What I want to say, I want to continue a bit history. Is that okay?
okay, okay. But I then I have after you finish, I also have some more questions. But go ahead.
Okay. Another thing that happened at the same times, and this is something that, as I look at it, is something very scary. Apparently, there is a force, a very strong, very rich organization in Israel. In Hebrew, it's called the Kohelet. I don't know if it has a name in English. This organization is run by conservative Americans. Some of them are affiliated with the January 6th attempt
Wait,
to
what's the name of the
overthrow.
organization again? Sorry, what's the
We
name?
called it in Hebrew Kohelet. I'll put the link for it somewhere. They
Okay.
believe in very extreme conservative views, like the ones that Trump emphasized, the ones that come out of the religious world. It, they are very rich, they have a lot of money, they have at least 150 researchers that are employed in Israel working for libertarian views, for conservative, very conservative views, against liberal values. They kind of talking about the danger of progressive ideas in the school system. Apparently, many of the new elected parliament members were getting money from them and were even being helped during the primaries in the parties. And, and this, we can say as of now that this organization is controlling Israel. Not lot. I'm saying it's very it's very difficult for me to say that it's like we were being took over by this group, and now they're pushing their ideas. And you want to go to a question before I continue because it's
Yeah, so you're saying the people that the same type of people who are responsible for January 6th, they have enough political and financial influence over Israel for them to
right.
be able to have maybe been responsible for this right wing shift in Israel.
Yes,
Okay, so this is
absolutely.
the opposite. This is the opposite of what people assume because uh, the conspiracy theory is that it's Israel that has its tentacles all over U.S. politics, right? The conservative right in Israel is the one that is has a lot of lobby groups in the United States. You're saying there's also, or maybe more, the opposite direction. It's the American conservatives, like not just any conservative, the Trumpist, anti-democratic. I mean, they're anti-liberalism, but anti-democratic. This new QAnon sect in the United States is growing and it's becoming influential, and it has enough influence over Israel that now losing Israel's democracy might be their fault. Is that the claim here?
Yes,
Okay. All right. Okay. Just want to make sure
straightforward.
we.
This is the claim. And
Okay.
we're backed by many details. You can read about it in the Israeli papers, even in English. Again, I'll put
I w-
some links afterwards.
I do want to show this group on screen. How do you spell the name in case somebody is just listening? Is it you
If
said
you you'll give me a second, I'll
because that's very
find the
significant.
link.
I want to. This seems to be because American influence in other countries' politics is very significant, whether it's positive or negative. This seems to be for us to be at if such a powerful anti-liberal force exists coming out of the United States, we have to be very very worried about it, especially given that guys, Israel is a tiny country, but it has a major effect on everything. Israel's politics even is goes beyond its borders and affects everything, the entire planet. So it's very important for us to be concerned about what is happening in Israel. And if this is happening from the United States, then I don't know. Americans need to be there's a responsibility for Americans as well. Again, why do we have? Oh, you send it in the private chat. Okay, Kohelet. Let me show it on the
Correct.
screen.
It's the name of a book in the Old Testament.
The Old Testament. Okay, so they are literally trying to bring in the end of times. Is that what's happening?
Uh, They are involved. We don't know exactly how much they're involved, but are very deeply involved in everything.
It's very scary that the people who actually believe that the end of time, like the people who want to bring about the end of the world, are the people that have this much influence in other people in other countries' politics. That is scary. Okay,
I'll try to
so
look for. I look later for the newspaper article that I'm referring to.
okay, D in the live chat is saying I am skeptical about this claim. Is there any way for us to verify how much influential this group has been over the Israelis' politics?
Yes, I'll send you links in a short while.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't want to lose
Go on,
concentration on our
go on. Yes,
cast,
sure.
and I did one search and I wasn't succeeded, but I'll do it.
Okay,
I promise to
okay,
write everything about it.
okay. Sounds good. You go ahead. Maybe I could, while
Okay,
you're
let's go
talking, I
ahead
also do
to
some research.
explain the situation. I'm still trying to explain the background, but it's very important to understand it. Another thing that is going on in Israel that people should understand: Netanyahu is being put on trial for corruptions. He had three major charges against him: corruption, bribery, and breach of trust. Three different, and the trial is going on. We understand that one of the reasons that is going to make all those changes, the main reason for his point of view, is to be able to break the indictment. He doesn't want to go to jail. He will do everything that is in his power to to stop all the proceeding. That's Netanyahu's personal agenda. And now connect it with everything that I was telling before. He feel that and the only way that he'll be able to do it is by dismantling the court, especially the Supreme Court, that will get, even if he's fully indicted in the court, is going to appeal it. If he's going to appeal it, somehow it will get to the Supreme Court. He wants the Supreme Court to be popularized by only right-wing judges that will help him to get rid of these charges. Again, so take this personal agenda, combine it with the conservative agenda that I was telling you, combine it with the ultra-religious people that all they want is money, combine it with the Messiah the Messianic religious party, the national religious, that's the joint forces that I was talking about, that all they care is to bring up the Messiah by taking control over the Palestinian area, build settlements. If it's necessary to kick them out, they think it's good. It's impossible, but they think to go forward with that. John, no, they don't say they're going to forward. That I'll have to let me clarify. They wouldn't care if they go out. Let's say that way. So take all those powers together, make a government, and we've got this disaster. And we got to this point of disaster. So
Right.
this is all the things that I was telling combined together.
Mm.
So let's talk about practically what's going on.
Yes. Okay. I have questions, but I will wait for you
Okay,
to finish
go
them.
ahead. No, go ahead with the
Okay.
question.
So let me. This is something I want to see if I understand properly. Okay, because what people don't understand is that we have there's a difference between absolute democracy and liberal democracy, right? In a
Right,
liberal democracy, the powers of the people are limited. The majority does not get to do whatever it wants. There are certain rights that are that the justice system of a country makes sure that everybody has, and no matter how much of the population votes to take that away, they cannot do so. And this is
right,
something that we have since the era of Montesquieu, that we have the government has we have a separations of power within the government, so none of the branches of the government get to dictate everything on everyone else, right? We have a executive branch, and we have a judiciary branch, and we have the legislative branch, right? So
right,
the judiciary branch is supposed to keep the legislative branch and the other one branch in check, so that the majority does not get to force its way upon minorities, like or women, like or LGBT, or ethnic minorities, or anyone else, right? So what the current government in Israel is doing is that now that the right leaning people have an upper hand, right, in the legislative branch, they want to force their ways on the other branches of government. So remove the the separation of powers that democratic countries work. Ever since Montesquieu suggested that is something that for you to have an effective democracy, you need these different branches of government to be separated, right? Instead of giving too much power to one. And this is what these people understand. Now that they have the one branch of the government, they see the judiciary in Israel as a limitation. The rights of Israelis, the rights of minorities, LGBT and ethnic rights and everything, that is a limitation on the legislative branch in Israel to be able to do its tyrannical, its conservative, its far right ways. So they want to use the power that they have right now to make the justice system limited, so that the majority can force its way upon everybody, upon the rest of Israelis. So that's why they're trying to come up with new laws as a way for the justice system, the courts in Israel, to not be able to hold the legislative branch accountable, and for them to be able to pass laws that contradict Israelis' laws, and for them not to be able to do anything. If they manage to break that wall, if the separations of power in Israel breaks apart, we will have effectively the destruction of liberal democracy in Israel. Because the only way that you could keep a democracy liberal is for the justice system to be able to keep the legislative branch in check. Is that a correct assessment of what we're
exactly.
dealing?
This
Okay.
is what
Okay.
we are afraid that they're going to dismantle in the next few weeks. The votes are going to be to start to be voted for on Monday, next Monday. I think it's a matter of until the end of March. They are planning to finish all those laws that and everything. Israel won't be a democracy anymore. Maybe I call it a procedural democracy. If we might still go to election, but as you said, it's not a liberal democracy, and it's not something that I'm willing to live in. I have to say that. Neither my kids or grandchildren, I won't accept I will advise them to maybe to go or to fight or to get out. I know I'm saying words that I never even believed that I'm going to say.
Yes, you told me that you never believed that this would ever happen to Israel.
Right.
Hmm.
I couldn't believe it. I can't. Do you want me to go over the laws that are going to change?
Yes, yes, please do so.
Okay. They're doing something like a salami. You cut the salami slice by slice and you advance toward this dictatorship. The first step that they're going to do next week is to pass a law that anything that the Supreme Court will decide can be overruled by a vote of 61 Knesset parliament members. 61.
Wow.
As I said
Wow.
it before, 61 is the least amount of votes that you need in order to create a government. That means that the majority has absolutely power of anything that the government is, the Supreme Court is going to decide. That's one thing. Again, next week they're going to decide something that very strange for me, that the judicial power don't have any say about what and which people are being appointed to governmental offices, including ministers. That means the government can be and will put ministers that were charged in the past for bribery or tax evasion, and I'm talking about specific people, I'm just not going into details. That's another law that is going to pass next Monday. The next thing that they're going to pass is a law that says that all the Supreme Court justice are being voted by a committee that will consist of a majority, of absolute majority of the ruling party. As of now, it's the most votes are for the judges. This is the committee as it constructed nowadays. In a matter of a few weeks, they will have the ability to select their judges. Only I believe that there will be actually only judges that are supported the right-wing agenda. They're going to pass a law that will allow this committee to fire judges. So if you have a judge that you don't like it, not necessarily Supreme Court judge, even lower level judges, if they want, they'll be able to fire them. We are suspecting, we don't know it for sure yet, but like it was done in Hungary, they're going to lower the age of retirement for judges. Once they're going to lower the age of retirements, immediately 5 judges are going home. 5 old judges that were appointed by past governments will go home for retirement. That will open the windows for appointment of 5 new judges. As I said again, there'll be right-wing judges. So it's not going to even become a slow process until all the judges will be replaced, like what happens in the United States. It takes time until a new judge, a specific window that give the current majority to vote for someone. They're going to do it immediately, very, very immediately. And we are suspecting that that's what they are planning. So that's another thing. They're going to decide to cancel all bunch of rules and possible indictments that are laws that says that like sometimes you can charge someone or cancel a government order because it's not okay to do it. It's not plausible. I'm not sure the exact translation to English, but something that you say that someone is getting like a salary that is much above what is considering normal. It's not going to be anymore a holding charge. So again, it's going to limit the work of the Supreme Court. They're going to decide. They are planning in the future not to allow any people to go and appeal to the court. They will say that it's going to be for making the court more efficient. Well, it sounds good, but what they're going to do is that if today a Palestinian, even in the territory, even inside Israel or in the territories, can appeal, he won't be able to appeal anymore. So it's another
They're going to
obstacle
take the
that
right to appeal away? Like, what the hell?
they're going to limit the ability for people to appeal to the court.
Okay.
So of course, that will affect mostly minorities. I can be assured that it's going to be really targeted to the Palestinian population. Many laws passed in the last few years to support the LGBT community. I think Israel, as of today, has the most liberal laws that protecting the LGBT community. I think that most of them are going to be cancelled or will be kind of disabled in a bunch of ways. There's another story not connected to the judicial court and changes. When the government was formed, they signed agreements between the parties involved. Do you remember I was talking about a single parliament member that came from a very, very extreme religious right wing, and he has a huge LGBT agenda? They appointed him as a result of the coalition agreements. He was appointed to be in charge of the programs that are going to be taught in the secular educational system, not in the religious, in the secular. That means he will be able to cancel all progressive programs that were happening in the
So
secular world.
this guy had an anti-LGBT agenda, right?
Right.
And he's now in charge of deciding what the secular schools, not the religious schools, but the secular schools are what the school curriculum in the secular schools are. So this
Right.
guy now is going
Part
to be
of the
able to
curriculum, but a huge chunk of it.
okay. So now this guy is going to be able to eliminate all the things that secularizes children in Israel. Could
Right.
remove that from the curriculum. Okay, that's horrible.
Another chapter in the coalition government is saying that people are allowed to deny service for people that they don't accept the religious views. They can deny service based on religion. It's horrible. That means that let's go for starter. That we have all those arguments in the United States of bakeries that don't agree to make wedding cakes for gays. So it's going to be same here, but it's going to be much more than cakes. We are talking of denying service to even perform weddings, because nowadays Think about places where they're having weddings in Israel. I'm thinking about event halls and stuff like that. They can deny service. It's not that they can even deny service. I believe, personal view, that since those people require them to be licensed by the religious uh, establishment, I believe that it's just a matter of time that the religious establishment will force them not to give service for either for minorities, Arabs slash LGBTs, in order to get licensed. We're going that way. It's my belief. It's not something that is yet was discussed. But the idea to deny service, yes, it's there. It might pass as a law. It's not yet.
How likely it is that all these laws will be that you mentioned are going to get passed?
We never know. We do. I know one thing, that once all those laws against the Supreme Court will pass, and the Supreme Court won't be able to disrupt those laws, it will be very easy to pass them. If one of those religious party will, sorry for I lost the word. If one of those religious parties will threat Netanyahu that they're going to destroy the government unless he's going to pass those laws, he will pass them. He will pass them. If it will get to that, they'll do it. And there's no one that can protect it. There's no one that can protect us from those laws.
I will read the super chats later. Thank you for your support. Is there any way to fight back against this party, against this coalition?
Well, we're trying. We are trying. As I said in the beginning, I'm in the leadership of what we call the high-tech protest. We are consistent of people that work in the high-tech industries, as I said in the beginning. We have in rallies every Tuesday of hundreds of workers that stopping their work and going underneath their offices and blocking roads. And you can see in my many pictures in my Facebook profile. We are trying to just to disrupt the life in Israel. This is more targeted the media. It's not that effective. We started seeing some high-tech CEOs, founders, owners of industry that are taking their money out of the country. It's very easy for companies that are working internationally to just take their accounts and move them out. And that's what we have about 4 or 5 large companies that announced that they're going to pass out millions of dollars. That's going to disrupt very, very heavily the economy. Talking again about protest, every Saturday night, again, you can see many pictures in my profiles. We have a protest of about 200,000 Israelis spreading out, mostly in Tel Aviv. Well, this is the largest city, but in all the cities around that are just protesting the thing. I have to say that as of now, the police is protecting us. Let's hope it will stay that way.
The police is protecting you. Why does
As
the
of
police
now,
is? Why is the police
they're
protecting?
kind of they're not fighting us. They're not fighting us, and they are even like yesterday that we decided to block a road without a permission. They just let us do that without interfering. They shouted on the microphone, go out, but we didn't care about it. And they didn't either. They just did their job calling us to get out, but they didn't did
Mm.
anything to do it. It's kind of funny. Anyhow, so, and what we're going to see, since I was telling you that on Monday, the laws are going to start to being voted, we are planning to make a general strike. Everywhere in Israel will be in strike. We are planning to go to Jerusalem. That means that we'll have a huge traffic jams that we are planning to make on the way, huge demonstrations. It's actually starting today by a work of ex-servicemen that are doing a walk toward Jerusalem. It's not an easy walk, and the weather is very hard. We have a severe storm going over us today.
Mm.
So they started just to walk, hundreds of ex-servicemen.
Mhm.
And by tomorrow night, we're going to siege the Netanyahu house. On
Wow.
Friday, we're going to siege the parliament. It's not going to be effective because they're not working on Friday, but it will make a huge media. And on
Mhm.
Monday, we're going to just block everything. There's a
Mm.
decision of the top organization that is gathering all the small organization underneath, like us, and they decided last night that we're going to block Jerusalem. And you've been to Jerusalem; it's a mess. It looks like it's blocked on a daily basis, but not, it will be much worse.
I do. Before we run out of time, I do have. We did get a super chat mentioning Palestine. Palestine. Somebody commented "Free Palestine," and also they commented Israel did nothing for LGBT people. I mean, they have. It's just now going in the wrong direction. But now mentioning Palestine now. Um, can you tell us what this is going to have? What the effect on all of this is going to be? I have a couple of questions. So if you could like mention briefly each one of them. What is the effect on the Israel Palestinian relationship because of this shift in the government?
I think we're going to a collusion. I think we're going
Collusion.
to a clash. Some of those members are planning to speed up settlements activities.
Crap.
Nobody will stop them. I hope the US will stop us from doing that. It's certainly not my belief that it should be done. I think that the Palestinian Authority is very weak. It means that they're going to lose control over their people. Nobody will be able to stop. I hope, I really hope, for the sake of the Israelis and Palestinians, I don't like anyone to get killed in either sides. And I hope it won't be a violent clash. Let's keep it in the political arena only, but a clash will be.
What is the effect going to be on Israel-Iran relationships?
I can't think it's not nothing specific that will happen because I know that if you take a poll among Israelis believe that Iran is a threat to the existence of Israel. As a threat for Israel, Israel will always, no matter what government will be, will fight against, will do everything in its power to dismantle
Mhm.
the nuclear capabilities that Iran is planning. It's really outside of this scope because most of Israel believe in this.
Okay, so that one is not going to be affected that much, but I'm assuming the Israel Saudi relationships or the Abrahamic Accords, that's going to be affected by this because it's going to make it more difficult for Gulf
Yes.
Arab countries to be closer to Israel when Israel's government is going to be more aggressively anti-Palestinian or as anti-Arab Israeli Arab now. So it's going to be a hard sell for Saudi Arabia to sell this normalizations of relationship with this government, right? Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay,
It's a
okay. So
matter that
Abraham,
I look at it and I think that if we'll have some clashes with the Palestinian Authority or with Hamas, I'm absolutely sure that it will affect everything. But not only the relation with the Abrahamic Accords countries, it might affect the relation with the United States, it might affect the relation with European countries. We'll have new friends. Hungary and Poland will be our new friends.
um,
How
I'm
about you?
assuming that I'm assuming that it will indirectly affect the Iran-Israel relationships because the Abraham Accord is the closer normalization of the relationships between Gulf Arab countries and Israel is putting extra pressure on the Islamic Republic of Iran. So if that relationship is threatened, the pressure on the Iranian government will also be reduced. So
Right,
indirectly, it will have some effect, I think, on the
right,
Israel-Iran relations. Okay.
right. All
Um,
those changes are going to destroy Israel. I'm sorry, the economy is in danger. The foreign
yes.
affairs is in danger.
Yep.
Right.
I mentioned. You know what? I posted this. If I could find it years ago. I said that the greatest threat to Israel is not Islamic extremism. I said the greatest threat to Israel is Jewish extremism. If anything, it's not a threat to. I mean, Islamic extremism is not a threat to Israel's existence. It's a threat to its safety. It's a nuance. It's a safety matter, but it will never be able. It's not. Israel is too strong for Islamic terrorists to be able to bring it to its knees. Um, but it's not strong enough for Jewish extremists. Jewish extremists within Israel itself have the power to bring Israel to its knees. So
I
unfortunately, it
absolutely.
seems. Yeah, you agree with this?
Yep. This is the most dangerous. Bring the. We are in an atheist channel. Yes, the religious is the worst thing that can happen to us.
Yeah. Let me actually let me show you, for example, a post I had um, in July 2019. I posted this. I said Hinduism is a greater threat to India than Islam. Judaism is a greater threat to Israel than Islam. The far right and far left are greater threats to Western countries than Islam. Islam is mostly a threat in Islamic countries. That's what I said.
Yeah,
Um, I do
this
want
is.
to ask. Yeah. Um, I do want to ask. You mentioned to me that you used to hold back on saying certain things about Israel, so that you, because as an Israeli citizen, I noticed that a lot of people, even they have some criticism about their countries, because Israel has so many enemies. Many Israeli citizens hold back saying some of their views about their country or about their government, because even if they believe there's some problems, they don't want to help the enemies of Israel's, so they hold back and they self-censor, right? But you say that the situation is so dire right now that you feel that you don't have that obligation anymore. That the things that you didn't want to say before because you didn't want to be seen as that taking the side of the enemies of Israel, you're now completely open and you have no barriers and you are saying everything. Are there any example of things that used to hold back and now you're going to be you're now completely free, you feel completely free to say it because you don't think that that is what is required right now?
Well, it is a difficult answer to say, even but I guess I mostly refer to the Palestinian issues. I have a lot of criticism against the Palestinians. Don't ever put it aside. It's important to understand that I put a huge fault on what happens between our relations on the Palestinians. But I do believe that, but now I'm more feel free to talk about what is called the occupation. The occupation is maybe the word that I try to refrain of using because a bunch of historic reasons. I can still give you good reason why it's not exactly an occupation. But now I feel free to talk about the occupation. I feel the occupation is, as of today, is not even bad for the Palestinians that deserve to be in a separate country. I support it. I always supported it. But the occupation is also the catalyst of what is happening to Israel now. I blame the occupation for the state of things that is going on
But so
because
I sorry.
it gave power to the ultra religious national people. They used it against liberal Israel.
Mm. Wait, you said you're against the occupation?
I'm
Is that
against
what
the
you said?
occupation. I believe the
Occupation.
Palestinians deserve a
Sure.
state. I think
Yes,
it will
there.
be good for Israel and for the
Mhm.
Palestinians.
Yeah. So you're saying that you fight for, even though you have criticism. Basically, what you're saying is that even though you have some criticism for the Palestinians, you support their right to self determination, and you think that they should be having their own government and they should be free, right? So you're
Right.
against the occupation, and now you're more open about it, about
Yes.
this okay. And how do you suggest that the occupation has been used in this way that you're suggesting? Like, how did they manage to do that? How did the
I
issue
tell
of
you what,
the occupation?
it's very
Mm,
simple. It's
mm.
very simple for what I'm looking at. You have to understand what's going on from the religious point of view about the occupation, not the political. But when in 1967, after we had to occupy the West Bank, we really were forced to do that. But right afterwards, the religious decided that this is part of the God's plan, that we conquered it for God's plan. They even gave this idea that you were not allowed to get out of there because if we get out of the land, then we are destroying God's plan. We're talking religious. And this idea is the major problem about the way the ultra religious people look at this on the West Bank. Now you have now it's basically straightforward. If you buy this, if you occupy a land because God gave you, and I don't need to understand what I think about God in an atheist channel. It's not it's not important at all from our point of view. But once you decide that God gave you the land and you are fulfilling God's plan, everything is free for you. Then it's okay to imply all those religious laws on the people that are. It means that the people that believe, like we in the left, that we need to give the Palestinians the land, then we are a traitor of the gods, we are a traitor of the religions. This is something that's implication of the things. Also, it means that it's okay that the people that live there, and I'm talking about the Palestinians, nobody should care about them because it's God's plan. He gave the land for them, for those religious people. This is where I see it is a major problem. This is actually what destroyed us. Because of course you can't control other people unless you destroy democracy. It can't be together. People should understand it. It doesn't go that way.
Do you think if Israel was a country that just we had Palestine and Israel, and the settlements of the West Bank wasn't such a religious obsession, we would have been able to see two neighboring countries living side by side without being so hostile to each other?
I wish, but this is a huge leap that I can't do it as of now.
Mm.
I can't say that. Sorry.
Mm.
Sorry,
Okay.
Palestinians, you are humans, but I can't. You have also an obligation to convince the Israelis that you are willing to live side by side.
Mm.
That's Palestinian obligations. At the same time, if they'll do that, it will be much easier for us, for the
Mhm.
left liberals, to gather strength inside. Of
Mhm.
course, it will
Mhm.
if we'll still have democracy.
So
And
we have hit the 1 hour mark, but I do want to share this thing that you mentioned because I wanted to see if it's true about this institution that you mentioned, the Kohelet Policy Forum, which is a U.S. Forum of basically a whole bunch of Trumpists, or you mentioned them as the the 6th of July people, the QAnon people. Apparently, they're very rich now. They have a lot of money backing them, and they are influencing Israeli politics, and they could be responsible for the surge in support. We I don't know how accurate this is, but this is something that is now on our radar. So what we're looking at is this article says the American billionaires behind the far right attempt to destroy liberal Israel. So Justice Minister, okay, and yeah, it mentions the forum right there, the Kohelet Policy Forum. So you're saying there's a lot of money coming out of the U.S. from people from the QAnon type people trying to end liberalism in Israel, and by extension end the world as they see it, to bring about the end of times. And this is how the world's superpower is now kind of sometimes helping, but also sometimes very is being very destructive to liberalism. It's very ironic that the same country that is responsible for maintaining liberalism in the world, the only country that the superpower that without it we wouldn't have the world liberal order, is also the same country that has the most amount of people coming on trying to destroy the same liberal world order from it. It's yeah, so it's quite ironic. um is there, before we end, is there any hope? Is there any hope, anything that you could give us a positive silver lining, or is it just doom and gloom? Was it are we is it,
Gee, I wish there was. I don't think we'll be able to stop the changes in the judicial system. The only thing I can see forward is that we're going to keep on fighting even after the laws will pass. Uh, when we did our goals for the future in our organization, we added goals that are going to be kept even after all the changes will happen. We'll keep on fighting. I think many countries were able to topple their governments from the streets, and that's what we're going to do. In the short term, we are trying to convince parliament's member to go against the government, but I can't see it happening. Sorry, it's very dim.
well, I mean, if you're going in the direction of a theocracy, we Iranians will try to topple our government, topple our theocracy, and maybe if Iran becomes a secular democracy, you could migrate to Iran. How about that? We'll provide protection for you over
I
there.
can do
You could
it.
be,
I
oh
didn't
yeah,
even know
okay.
if I ever told you, Armin, but in 1978, my family was planning to move to Iran.
Oh really?
It
Oh,
was
I never.
I was very young.
Wow.
Luckily, the Islamic revolution came, and this idea was, of
Luckily.
course, destroyed.
Hmm.
My
Well,
father
I mean,
gave.
not luckily for most of us, but good thing that you didn't move there behind before then. Um, yeah. Anyways, I did want to find a way for Iranian secular activists and Israeli secular activists to fight religious governments on both sides. I don't know if maybe you could give me any suggestions, because I think the religious laws and conservatism is having and tyranny and fascism is having a comeback, and liberalism is um, being threatened everywhere, by Russia, by China, by Hindu nationalists, by Jewish nationalists, by Islamic extremism, and by Christian extremism. And we liberals and secularists, we have to go beyond borders and languages and beyond our governments and support each other, because this is not an Israel battle, this is not an Iran battle, this is not a US battle, this is not an India battle, this is not a China battle, this is not a Russia battle. This is a global battle, and we cannot be fighting these fights locally. I think we should be fighting these fights globally, and we need to support each other, right? We need to remove all these barriers that exist between us. So if you have any suggestions for us to be able to work with each other and unite the secular activists on the globe, and show to other people that we could, work alongside with each other across, borders, let me know, and I would be love to, come up with any initiatives that moves us in that direction.
We'll have to join forces.
Yes, we do.
We'll have to
Yes,
join forces.
yes. Anyways, guys, this is we're already finished 1 hour. So, Amir, do you want to promote anything or request anything for people to come support something, subscribe to something, donate to something? Is there
I
anything?
can always ask for donations. We need donations to work to everything costs money today. I'll let Armin add a link to donations in dollars to our organizations.
Okay,
I'll be
I
more
will.
than happy if you can donate, if you can promote this, and if you can spread the news, what's going on. People don't understand how horrible the situation is.
Okay, so
Thank
please
you
send
very
me the
much for
link.
listening, everybody. Thank you,
Yeah, guys,
Armin, for having me.
yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to explain to us. So, guys, I will take the link from Amir. If anybody wants to support the fight against far right taking over Israel, okay. Again, this is something that will cost all of us. It's not just something that is happening in Israel. This will be devastating to the planet, not just to Israel. So, if anybody wants to support the fight that they're having, the liberals fighting this far right government that is taking over. If anybody wants to support the Israelis who are fighting back, I will have right after the stream. You could see in the description. I would have the link at the very, very top. I would have a link to where you could go and support. Anyways, guys, thank you so much, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and also please share this video, because not that many people are talking about this. This is a very important information for people to have. So if you want your fellow liberals or your fellow secularists or your fellow atheists to know, get a good picture of why this is such an important topic about Israel, because if you look at other news outlets, they don't describe it to you as a threat to democracy and secularism. It's just like an objective analysis of what's going on. So if you want other people to know how big of a threat this is and why we should be raising the alarm, please make sure you send them this video that you just watched. I appreciate all your support, and I'll see you guys on the next stream. Anyways, bye,
Thank you
guys.
very much, everybody.
Bye. Stay on. I will just end the stream right now.